Başlayayım. Good morning, dear guests. Welcome. It's our pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to the third International Şişli Science Congress. We would like to extend a special thanks to the members of the third International Şişli Science Congress Committee. We would also like to thank Engel Kençker University for their participation in our collaboration that we have done together. We believe that annual International Şişli Science Congress brings academics, researchers, scientists, scholars, technologists, and students together. We hope it will gain new connections and find colleagues for future collaboration. In conjunction with the event today, our General Manager, Ms. Leyla Anılgöl, will be delivering in her inauguration speech. We are proud and honored to have Ms. Göl with us today. Ms. Göl has graduated from Haliç University's Department of Nursing. She has been completed her master degree in the same university, Institute of Health Science. In 2012, Ms. Göl professional life has started as an instructor at Şişli Vocational School. Between 2012 and 2022, Ms. Göl has worked as head of Aged Care Department and Deputy Director General. Currently, she is acting as General Director in our Şişli Vocational School. Now, we are pleased and honored to invite Ms. Göl for her address to our third International Şişli Science Congress. The floor is yours, Ms. Leyla Anılgöl. Leyla'cığım. Söz sizin Leyla'cığım.
Değerli meslektaşlarım, değerli katılımcılar ve sevgili öğrencilerimiz. Bilimsel bilgiyi toplum ve dünya yararına sunmak için farklı bilim dallarında güncel ve özgün akademik araştırmaların paylaşıldığı University of Rus, Angel Kançev Bulgarya İşbirliği ile düzenlenen 3. Uluslararası Şişli Bilim Kongresi'ne hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Bilimsel bilginin ve paylaşımın öneminden hareketle bilim dünyası ve akademik çalışmalar için yeni bir platform oluşturmak amacıyla 2019-2021 yıllarında pek çok ülkeden bilim insanlarının katılımıyla Uluslararası Şişli Bilim Kongresi'ni gerçekleştirdik. İçinde bulunduğumuz bilgi çağında sosyal yaşamın her alanında hızla dijitalleşme süreci yaşanılmakta. Teknolojik yenilikler bu anlamda bize büyük fırsatlar sunmaktadır. Ayrıca yaşanılan pandemi sürecinin küresel çaptaki etkileri dijitalleşme sürecini de hızlandırmış ve küresel çapta ciddi etkiler yaratarak çeşitli paradigma dönüşümlerinin kapısını aralamıştır. Bu gelişmelerden hareketle biz de devam eden pandemi koşulları gereğince çevresel sürdürülebilirliği de desteklemek için dijitalleşmenin sunduğu olanaklardan yararlanarak kongremizi çevrimiçi olarak düzenleme kararı aldık. Bilimsel bilgi üretim ve paylaşımla ortaya çıkar, güçlenir. Farklı bilim dalları arasında paylaşım ve akademik tartışma platformları bilimsel bilgiyi daha fazla nitelikli hale getirir görüşünden hareketle Şişli Meslek Yüksekokulu olarak farklı bilim dallarında çalışmalar yapan bilim insanlarını ve araştırmacıları yeniden bir araya getirmenin haklı gururunu yaşıyoruz. 26-27 Mayıs tarihlerinde yapılan 3. Uluslararası Şişli Bilim Kongresi, bilim insanları ve araştırmacıların yanı sıra sektör temsilcilerinin, uzmanların ve öğrencilerin katılımına da açık olacaktır. Bu yılki kongremizde toplam 46 bildiri ve 48 katılımcı yer almaktadır. Her yıl olduğu gibi pek çok ülkeden bilim insanları bildirileriyle kongremize katılım sağlamıştır. Türkiye'nin yanı sıra Fas, Makedonya, İran, Bulgaristan, Romanya ve Hindistan'dan farklı bilim dallarında çalışmalar yapan bilim insanları kongremizde bildirilerini sunacaktır. Kongremiz paralel oturumlarla ilerleyecektir. 3. Uluslararası Şişli Bilim Kongresi'nde Bilim Kurulu tarafından kabul edilen bildirilerin tam metinleri uluslararası yayın evi olan Gece Kitaplığı Yayın Evi tarafından kitap bölümü olarak yayımlanacaktır. Bildiri özetleri Şişli Meslek Yüksekokulu tarafından yayımlanan Bildiri Özet kitapçığında, tam metinler ise kongre e-kitabında yer alacaktır. Bu kongrenin hazırlanmasında emeği geçen Bilim Kurulu ve Düzenleme Komitesi'nde yer alan birbirinden değerli tüm üyelere bilime sundukları katkı adına huzurlarınızda çok teşekkür ederim. Kongremizin ilk gün ana konuşmacısı olan, aynı zamanda okulumuzun mütevelli heyeti başkanı çok değerli Sayın İbrahim Aybar'a ve ikinci gün ana konuşmacısı Sayın Profesör Doktor Theodor İlev'e ayrıca çok teşekkür ediyorum. Bilimin ışığı hepimizi aydınlatsın. Sevgi ve saygılarımla.
Once again, we would like to extend a special thanks to our estimate instructor and our general manager, Ms. Leyla Anıl Göl. Thank you for your time. This concludes our event for inauguration. Nasıl devam? Okay. In conclusion with the event today, our chairman of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Ibrahim Aybar, will be delivering his opening speech. We are proud and honored to have Mr. Aybar join us today. Mr. Ibrahim Aybar has graduated from Istanbul Technical University as aeronautical engineer. He has then completed his MSc courses and became aeronautical engineer MSc. In his professional life, he has mostly been involved in an automotive industry. Between 1978 and 1992, Mr. Aybar has worked for Turkish Prime Minister upon invitation by Prime Minister Office. Mr. Aybar always tells that those years he spent with Mr. Turgut Özal and Mr. Mesut Yilmaz have given him broad and most valuable experience in his professional life. After returning back, private sector, he has appointed as managing director and CEO of Renault Mais, the joint venture of shareholders Oyak and Renault Group. After nearly 17 years of long and achieved leadership, he retired in 2017 from his professional career. Currently, he is acting as chairman of Board of Trustees in our Şişli Vocational School. In the meantime, he owns a consulting firm called Vessel Sharing Economy Solutions, which deals mainly with car sharing. During Corona pandemic, Mr. Aybar was written a book called Paylaş, it means share, that gives deep insight on sharing economy related matters. Now we are pleased and honored to invite him for his address to our third International Şişli Science Congress. The floor is yours, Mr. Aybar, please.
Thank you very much, Senem, for your very motivating introduction on my name. So I am so pleased to be here with very valuable audience here and our valuable guests from Anglican University and the other valuable speakers also from different places of the world. So today, actually, as you introduced, I'm going to present to you the future of automotive industry. As you may all know, that in general terms, the automotive industry is in a very rapid and drastic transformation period. So this speech that I'm going to deliver, I would like to mention mainly about that. So let me just make a sharing, if possible. Okay. Okay, here it is. So today, in my speech, I have three headlines for all of you. Firstly, I would like to mention just briefly how automotive market is evolving and what happened in 2021 as market sales as well as production and so on. And secondly, I would like to touch upon new trends in automotive industry as to how this transformation is going on, which kind of triggering events are to lead this transformation. And lastly and thirdly, I would like to mention about new trends in mobility. So, first of all, as I said, let's just share the latest figures of automotive industry worldwide. And these figures are pertaining to 2021 figures, actually. Globally, the sales, the vehicle sales, motor vehicle sales, have reached to 85 million units worldwide, which represents 4.6% of increase in sales rhythm. But normally, average is about 100 million sales per year. So the figures are still lagging much behind the average volume sales of the world. The reason is, of course, pandemic and mainly the shortage of components, the increase of cost in supply chain systems, and as well as shortages in commodities. So it seems that this year, this rhythm will go on this way unless there's going to be a new surprising thing that we may face during the year. And coming back to European market, last year, European market has given us 14 million sales in total, which represents a bit increase compared to 2020. It is actually, again, much less than the average figure of European market. The average figure is nearly 17 to 18 million sales per year. And as far as our Turkish market is concerned, last year, 772,000 sales we could have achieved as Turkish market, which represents minus 3% decrease. It means that we are shrinking in our market due to mainly all these shortages in components, semiconductor issues, and other material and commodity issues as well. Well, when we have a look at our export income in Turkey, we achieved last year $30 billion of gain in our export, which represents 15% increase. Actually, it is not because of we increased the market, we increased the production volume. No, it is mainly because of the increase in commodity prices as well as component prices as well. Export of last year in Turkey was about 937 vehicles throughout the world in general, which says a 2.2% increase in general. As you may all know, that the European market is our main market to export. European countries, when do they import the cars? 1/4 cars are from our own industry. So the production of last year in Turkey was 1.3 million vehicles, which is actually less than a year before. It's also because of many turngates, many stops in production due to several problems of supply chain. Anyway, this is the very brief and general picture of what automotive sector was in 2021. As far as this year is concerned, as you know, we already passed 4 months of the year, and within this 4 months, first 4 months of the year, the market is not only in Turkey as well as in Europe and in the world, market is continuing to shrink. The shrinkage rate is about more than 20% for the time being. And it seems that this year we don't have any more hope to have more sales in global market and as well as in Turkish market. I would like to draw your kind attention to this chart specifically, which shows the fuel types of new car sales. Just the lower part of this chart gives us 2020 year figures, both in Turkey and in European Union. And that shows that the petrol engine, benzene engine cars were dominating last year, the year before, the total market. And the diesel was starting to phase out due to the regulative changes, and better electric vehicles plus hybrid cars were on increase, particularly in European Union. Turkey is quite much lagging behind. And when we came to 2021, we saw very steep and very strict, actually, increase in many fields of electrical cars. But in the meantime, petrol engine car sales were again dominating in European market by 40% market share. And the diesel is really phased out. And I think this year, in 2022, the diesel car sales would be probably less than 5% or something. And electrical cars and hybrid car sales are increasing quite enormously. So last year, the total market share of those cars was about 37.6%. And this year, right from now, we can say nearly 40 to 50% of market share we can reach at the end of the year for European Union. As for Turkey, still petrol cars, benzene cars are dominating the market, 66.5% of market share, and the diesel again is going out. Actually, when European market is not receiving diesel cars and not producing diesel cars, we are not doing the same. So concerning electrical vehicle and hybrid model cars, Turkey is also regenerating up to 9.3% of market share we achieved last year. And this year it is also going much better with about 16% something increase compared to last year in the first 4 months of the year. So I would like to tell you about what conditions to affect this big change in fuel type of the cars. Of course, regulations imposed by countries. The European side has been affected much heavily by these regulations for the time because European Union countries would like to have this transformation quite earlier than the other part of the world. So the first one as regulation that I would like to mention is the WLTP, which means Worldwide Harmonized Light Vehicle Test Procedure. This procedure is making gas emission controls of every cars or every vehicles, light vehicles produced in Europe. And the conditions of this regulation stipulate real world tests, not tests in laboratories. It was before in the laboratories and the figures were not matching the real life conditions beforehand. But after Dieselgate problems of 2015, maybe you may remember what happened to Volkswagen brand. So right after that, in 2017, this new regulation, WLTP, was adopted by European Union and the real world test conditions were started. And by doing so, electrical vehicle sales or less carbon emitting car sales are booming right after that. And another very important issue for European Union is, as you know very well, the Green Deal, European Green Deal, which announced last year on July 14th. And this European Green Deal has set very, very important messages to everybody concerned. First of all, the sales of internal combustion engine cars, which means fossil fuel emitting cars, these are all going to be banned as from 2035, entirely in European Union zone, which means right after 2035, nobody can sell any fossil oil emitting, fossil oil consuming car or vehicles in European Union zone. England, which is not anymore in European Union, has announced that they are going to be a bit advanced to apply this new condition. They are going to apply in 2030. And another very important issue is that the upper limit of carbon emission in European Union in 2030 will be 55% less than of 1990, which means after 2030, even hybrid cars, which has also, you know very well, which has also internal combustion engine in it, these hybrid cars will not be able to be sold because of this limit. And another very important thing is the carbon tax issue. The European Union member countries will charge carbon tax at the time of their import at their borders if there's any polluting item that they are going to import, which means that when we export to European Union, if we produce the goods that we export to European Union has a procedure, has a process polluting the air, we will have to pay additional tax at the time of export to European Union. That means that our products having polluting background will have a costly price, and competition will not be in our own favor. So that's very, very important thing in our near future. Therefore, as Turkish industries, we have to be so cautious on that. So every process that we produce, any industrial item, and to export it to European Union, we will have to make them free from carbon starting from 2026. For instance, we are exporting automotive products. We are exporting steel, iron products, cements, aluminum products to European Union. If we keep doing the same with the same process methods, maybe we will have a big problem, big price increase at the time of exporting them due to carbon tax related cost issues. Another point of this European Green Deal is carbon neutral environment, which is committed also to be applied as from 2050. That is also a binding issue for us because we already committed as Turkey to be in carbon neutral environment as from 2053. So everybody in European Union, as well as the neighboring countries of European Union, will have to be adopting this Green Deal issue starting from 2035. So everybody should be so cautious on that. Okay, on one side, the European Union has been taking such measures, such regulations, but on the other side, the United States, the biggest economy in the world, is not also keeping silent. They are also doing something. And the most important regulation they have in terms of reducing carbon emission is corporate average fuel economy standards, which is shortly CAFE. And CAFE was adopted first in 1975 by US Congress. And the reason of adopting this new standard is to increase the fuel efficiency for light vehicle models and to reduce the fuel consumption. And President Obama, when he took over, he has also taken into effect new and very tight version of CAFE standards starting from 2017. And they started applying new standards in that way. They increased the fuel efficiency of US registered motor vehicles. They intend to decrease fuel consumption. They intend to increase also consumption of other alternative clean energies like electricity and fuel cell, hydrogen. They subsidize new technologies, leading the sector to green energy side and challenging with climate change and improving their air quality. And these CAFE standards are strictly being applied in the United States without any exemption. Moreover, Mr. Biden, who took over a year before, has also set new standards, say, is also by commitment, the increase of share of electrical vehicles says up to 2030 should be the must, which means by 2030, 50% of car sales would be by electrical vehicles. And this new commitment forces, of course, all automotive brands producing in USA to convert their production lines so as to produce mainly electric vehicle models by 2030. Actually, here there's one surprise. Let me underline this point, that the Biden's initiative, okay, when he commented that it was not understood like so, but afterwards, everybody understood that this initiative includes also hybrid cars as electrical vehicle. Actually, hybrid cars are not purely electrical vehicle, as you very well know, because there's internal combustion engine inside polluting air, as well as other fossil energy emitting cars. So this point has, of course, helped Toyota a great deal, because Toyota is the first and the #1 brand in the world selling mostly hybrid cars. And also this commitment will not solve completely the carbon emission problem in the future, as Toyota will keep producing hybrid cars in the years to come as well. Actually, why all the countries, even developing and the developed countries, are so keen to apply electrical vehicles in the new technology vehicles for future? Of course, World Health Organization has explained this point, as their data told us that air pollution issues cause really 7 million deaths every year, which is an unbearable figure, of course, which is enormous. And unfortunately, from existing energy policies of many countries still, and the vehicles circulating on roads, the suspended particles of smaller than 10 micron are entering the human body by respiration. When we inhale, we unfortunately receive unconsciously, without knowing, those suspended particles. And these particles, after some times, would cause serious cancer, asthma, and cardiovascular complications to many of human bodies. And World Health Organization recommends not to exceed 20 microgram per cubic meter of air in any of countries in the year time. Now, let's have a look at the geographical situation of the countries that we live in. Here, it says here, this is issued by World Health Organization as well, and the European side would be considered much better, but coming back to eastern side of European Union, plus our geographical situation, and towards Asia, the situation is getting worse. So our atmosphere is unfortunately quite polluted for the time being. It has to be cleaned up. So this point is forcing everybody to let automotive sector, automotive industry produce clean cars for next generation of the lives. And the last agreement that I would like to mention concerning this new transformation era of automotive is COP26. COP26 was a summit which was convened at the end of last year in Glasgow, maybe you remember well. And this summit has given a broad consensus to all countries participating, and the countries agreed to sign Paris Agreement, including Turkey. And carbon neutral roadmap starting from 2050 would be also ready, more or less, as prepared. And all countries participated in this summit has come to the consensus of maximum 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature increase in the atmosphere. If we do achieve this point, if we do keep the temperature increase at 1.5 degrees Celsius, there are going to be a big, of course, achievement for the future life of the world. So another very important point, of course, some of industries, some of energy investors still do prepare their future plans on fossil fuel industry. But any investment after this year is on fossil fuel, that would be quite risky because nobody would buy that fossil fuel after some years. That's a very critical issue for them. So what we'll have to do in coming years? First of all, renewable energy investments has to speed up by 3 times, which means solar energy investments plus wind energy investments, and regarding all zero emission investments, we have to speed up, at least according to today's phenomenon, at least by 3 times. Also, new technologies should be launched. Hydrogen, capturing from carbon from atmosphere, develop battery and modular reactors. These new investments should be on air before 2030. Also, fossil oil consumption has to substantially reduce. The cars emitting fossil fuel cannot be more and more on the streets. And battery electric vehicles percentages on the road should be also highly increased. Forecast is by 2025, 20%, and by 2030, nearly 40%, as as estimated. And lastly, I would like to show this picture to you, which is the start actually of all these endeavors in common sense. This picture is taken in the year 2015, date June 7, and G7 leaders of that time came together in Germany, and surprisingly, they declared a common statement towards green future of our planet. So that is the start point of all endeavors, not only in the automotive sector, also on other sectors of industry. Okay, now, by considering all these climatic initiatives plus regulations, legislative studies and all, battery electrical vehicles are going to dominate the automotive market for sure. According to KPMG survey results of 2022, this year, by 2030, in developed countries like USA, Japan, and China, 54% of market share is expected for electrical vehicles. In Western Europe, 49% of market share is awaited. In Brazil, 41%. In India, which is the quite opposite country in electrical vehicles, still there, 37, 38, 39% maximum of market share is being expected. Okay, and on one hand, the electrical vehicles are on increase, but on the other hand, who is going to buy those cars, those vehicles? Of course, customers. Okay, let's have a look. If customers are ready to buy those cars or not. Actually, the answer is not yet, because still there are some confusions in the minds of customers to impede, to prelude massive battery electrical vehicle sales. First, the price. Still, the electrical car prices are higher than any combustion engine cars. That's the first problem. Second problem is charging infrastructure. Still, these charging points along the roadsides are not that visible. So the people are refraining from buying electrical cars because they say, okay, one day when they need electricity to charge their cars, they might not find. So that's also another quite interesting and quite big issue. And the third one is the range. When you make your cars charge, then you have how many kilometers to drive. That's also another point. According to surveys, recent surveys, the people, when they need to charge their cars, they need to complete their charge in less than 30 minutes. That is the first. And secondly, when they have their cars charged fully, they need at least 450 or 500 kilometers of free drive. And all cars do not have this flexibility because it concerns also with the price issue. Let's have a look at this chart. Actually, this chart was prepared by Volkswagen and showing the results for Volkswagen electrical car ID3. And there's a comparison with this car, with the comparable combustion car in other kind of the same segment. So when we see here, if government subsidize this car purchase, giving incentive to some extent, then car can become competitive against any combustion car. Because the people, of course, would like to see the price first. If the electrical car price is more or less similar to combustion car sales, then people can buy, because maintenance cost is, operational cost is quite low. Just to example, one electrical car has about 500 components in it. Meanwhile, any combustion car has about 5,000 components in it. So the maintenance is becoming so less, so cheap, and also electricity is much cheaper than fuel as today's condition. So low operating cost, low maintenance cost would make the people convinced to buy electrical cars, but for that, the price should be competitive as first. So the governments in many countries do give more incentives on the prices of electric cars. Let's give an example to car sales of Germany. About 7,000 euros of per car sale is given by government to the car buyer. So that's quite good money, actually. In electrical cars, we do have lithium-ion battery. This battery contains lithium material, and lithium material has a great advantage of capturing electricity in it. Normally, electricity cannot be captured in any way, but lithium is managing it to some extent. So lithium becomes very, very crucial element of electrical cars. And okay, since lithium is very critical, very strategic, so what about their reserves? Reserves seem to be enough for future. Totally, nearly 47 to 46 million tons of lithium reserves were detected, mainly in southern part of American continent, as well as in China, and partly in other parts of the world. So lithium material seems to be enough for future needs. Not only lithium material as well. In 10 years of time, those materials, those commodities, metals would become so crucial, from nickel to manganese, from copper to graphite, from lithium to cobalt. They are very, very critical materials for electrical technology. And lithium-ion batteries currently are liquid electrolyte batteries, but in future, even in near future, solid batteries are expected to be marketed. Why? Because battery size should be smaller in order to be adapted to many other models as a uniform and a small package. So they have to be solid, and also they have to be light. Now the batteries are quite heavy for the time being. One electrical car has about nearly 400 kilograms, minimum 300 kilograms of battery in the car itself. So this battery has to be much lighter, and solid battery would probably be a solution on that. And very critical issue is the price of battery. Actually, 10 years ago, when we first launched the first electrical car in Turkey, which was Fluence electrical car, Renault Fluence EV, the price at that time of lithium battery was quite high. Per kilowatt hour, the price was about $1,300. So the one battery giving us a range of about 200 kilometers costed at that time about $22,000 to $23,000, one battery. Now it became, of course, year by year quite cheap, and now we came to really $140, $130 per kilowatt hour of battery price. But the aim is a bit less, of course. aim is to receive the price less than $100 per kilowatt hour. It can be done actually this year because in China, the producers started to achieve this minimum cost level for the time being. And probably next year, the issue would probably be over. Concerning resilience of battery against atmospheric conditions, the situation is not that bad. For the time being, between minus 20 degrees and plus 60 degrees Celsius, battery can perform quite positively. This point is very important for everybody. Customers do need, as I said, at least 450 to 500 kilometers of range after a charge of their cars. Actually, it is not the case in the reality. The daily return trips in downtown, they have only less than 60 kilometers of distance a day, which means that when I have a charge of 100 kilometers of distance, it's enough for me to drive my car in downtown, of course, for one day. So when I am back to home or my office, I can charge it afterwards, no problem, because 60 kilometers of this is not that big. Actually, today, the available electrical cars in the market do give us quite longer distances, except few models. So this study shows us that the electrical cars are not a problem in terms of distances to drive. And also for B segment cars, why B segment cars? Because many of electrical models are
hello, dear guests and colleagues. We think there is a technical problem and he will be back soon. Okay, he just back. Okay, geldi mi? Okay. Mr. Ibrahim Aybar, we couldn't hear you. Can you hear me?
Is it okay?
Oh, yes, Now it's okay.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, no
Sorry
problem.
for interruption.
Okay.
So, sales growth are quite geometrically going on. So last year, as a first time, the worldwide sales of electric cars exceeded 10 million sales last year. So because of incentives, because of initiatives, because of regulations, because of all technical attempts towards electrical mobility, the sales are going quite heavily. And this picture I would like to show you just by a purpose, by intention. Why? Because this year is also a very important year for Turkey. At the end of this year, our first national and the local car talk is going to be launched, which is of SUV model. And when it is going to be launched, many of other international brands will be in a position to launch their SUV models at the same time. From Mercedes to GMC, from Mazda to Ford and Volvo, many electrical SUV models we are going to receive, even in the Turkish market. So I would like to show this point once again to keep in our minds that the TOG brand, our local and national brand, will have quite tough competition starting from next year in Turkish market as well. Well, these are the general issues and a very brief picture of what's going on in electrical car industry. Now, I would like to draw your kind attention on the new trends in mobility, in car mobility, which is autonomous drive. Volkswagen CEO Herbert Diess last year explained that in 2030, 15% of mobility on roads will be by autonomous cars. Why is it so? Why everybody is giving more emphasis to autonomous cars? The reason is that the autonomous cars will give us a freedom. Why? Daily, we do work for 8 hours a day, as you know. And to get to our own office site and to get back to our home, we spend normally 2 hours a day. And during these 2 hours, mainly we do drive our cars. And while driving, we do have quite busy environment on the roads, tough traffic conditions, traffic jams, and we do keep concentrated on the traffic without doing anything else. When we have autonomous cars to be in, so these 2 hours of driving time that we are going to gain for our own business, we can make our meetings, we can connect to somewhere, we can write our mails, we can receive mails, so we can be in the automotive, not only automotive, also in economy. So to gain this 2 hours per day is very crucial for world macroeconomy. That means at least $25 trillion of new economical gain would be obtained. That's why autonomous cars technology is becoming so crucial for world automotive sector. And another very important issue is that, daily, many thousand people are dead on traffic injuries, traffic accidents. And normally, and that's also the average figure, that per year, 1.3 million deaths we are receiving, unfortunately, on the roads because of those traffic accidents, the car collisions, so on and so forth. And to avoid from this 1.3 million fatal injuries and to avoid from casualties of traffic accidents, which is nearly in the United States, $1.5 trillion of new loss. To abstain from this, autonomous cars technology is also very crucial. Of course, autonomous cars cannot be achieved only by car producers, OEMs. Also, the governments should do something as their own homework. They have to prepare the infrastructure, the physical roads. They have to adapt many, sensors, many connection points, because the cars will be connected to each other. Not only to each other, also to physical entities. That's why autonomous car technology would need broad incentives and initiatives for everybody concerned. Now, I would like to show you what sort of autonomous drive that we are going to have in the years to come very soon. Just this video will give us a quite nice idea about what's going on and what's going to be in the years to come. Yeah, this is the autonomous drive, which means nobody is in driver's seat, nobody drives the car. Car travels by itself, and upon your instruction, digitally by your own mobile phone or whatever, computer, the car takes you and leaves you to the place that you want. So that is the feature. And this feature, by the way, my feature is not there. Anyway, this is the feature. So for this time, if we have any autonomous car application, why to own a car? We don't need to possess any car. So the new feature is the time to share the cars in our transportation. No need to purchase a car, just to share the car, to let the people share all that their transportation means. So this is the new era. So the important companies, the leading companies, are studying a lot to market the car utilization, not car itself. And here we saw Google. Google is not a car company. Google is a digital company. Also, Apple is producing some autonomous applications. Also, Sony. And Sony has already launched the first ever car in the world. And these are digital companies. So in future, what we will see is that the reputable, very big, giant automotive companies will become just outsourced companies of those digital companies. So that's also another point. And we have to get ready for this feature. Now, we saw autonomous cars, and there's also another situation for bicycles, and bicycles would be also autonomous in future. Let's see what sort of bicycles that we are going to see very soon. So this style, this new way of mobility is about to come very soon in the future. Okay. So thank you very much for listening to me. And please, let's bear all together on our mind that the future is electrical and fully autonomous. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Aybar. You shared valuable information on the future of the automobile industry new era with us today. Thanks for your time, Mr. Aybar. Once again, we would like to extend a special thanks to our esteemed Board of Trustees, Mr. Ibrahim Aybar, for his opening speech. Now I would like to ask to our guests and colleagues if they would like to ask any questions, or is there anything that you would like to add? Sevgili katılımcılarımız ve akademisyen arkadaşlarımız, eğer eklemek istediğiniz ya da İbrahim Bey'e açılış konuşması ile ilgili olarak sormak istediğiniz bir şey varsa sorularınızı alabiliriz.
It seems that there's no more question today.
Okay, I think so. Okay.
Okay, because,
once again, thank you. Thank you, Ibrahim Aybar.
The point that I raised was a bit interesting for everybody, I am sure. But of course, it needs to be more digested, of course, to emphasize in the future. Anyway, this is the life. The automotive is leading us to this kind of life. Thank you.
Yes, we... Thank you. This concludes the event for opening ceremony. Hope to see our guests and colleagues on our first session at 11 o'clock. Thanks for participating. Thanks, Ibrahim Aybar, again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.